Hello, welcome to GeoBiz Live and to Land Matters. The significance of land to humans cannot be overemphasized. Every country understands that to develop infrastructure, attract foreign investment and compete in increasingly globalized economy, it needs to develop a modern land administration system. This involves multiple stakeholders, including government administration, private industry, and funding agencies. At times, there is a disconnect between the stakeholders. So, today's discussion on in Land Matters is about how the private industry and government administration disconnect is able to overcome that disconnect and how it is bridging the gap. So we have on the panel today Brent Jones, Industry Manager, Land Records and Cadastre at Esri. Welcome, Brent. Welcome to the panel. We have Don Peel, Head of International Government Land and Tax Services from Thomson Reuters. Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And we have joining us remotely Kees Dezeeuw, Director of Cadastre International at Dutch Cadastre. Kees, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And we also have joining us online Matt Delano, Business Area Manager, Land Administration Solutions at Trimble. Matt, welcome to the show and to this panel.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, great. Let's start the discussion with what is the important and how has the industry government relationship has evolved over the years in the land segment, and what are some of the notable changes? Brent, may I ask you to make your intervention?
Sure. There's a lot of notable changes. Government is a very large consumer of technology, and that's growing. There's less customization to technology. As technology matures, government can use technology off the shelf, which makes it easier to maintain. There's some other things happening as well. The governments are tending to contract out a lot of work as well, and provide service and have service level agreements with industry to provide certain functions. And I think one really important thing with government is that they're not government to government. They're not thinking they are as different as other governments, which helps us standardize technology quite a bit and deliver solutions that requires so much less customization, faster implementation, and are easier to maintain and support.
Okay, great. Don, may I ask you to make your intervention on your point and how you think this relationship is evolving?
Sure. I think at Thomson Reuters we're seeing a great deal of interest globally around land information solutions, and be it through emerging markets that are looking to first deploy a land information system, to more developed markets where countries or states are looking to modernize existing systems. There's a great deal of interest. And because of that, there's a great deal of dialogue, and we're seeing, I think, increased attendance at industry events around the world where we can really talk about the alternative choices available to government. I think it's an exciting time for governments to be looking at land information systems.
Okay, great. Kees, if I may ask you, you represent the government angle on this panel. Can you let us know what are the disconnect you see and how this relationship is evolving?
Well, I can talk only for the Dutch situation, of course, but I see that we have two roles nowadays. First, we were just the consumer or the customer of the private sector. And lately we also become more a partner in the things we do. And I think that's very important to understand, that if we want to achieve our ambitions and our goals, that we have to go more into being partnerships and to share our ambitions and visions together with the private companies we're working with.
Okay, that's fantastic. Matt, I would like to ask you the same question. How you see, what has been your experience and how you see this relationship evolving between the government organizations working on land administration and the industry supporting governments?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to apologize if I duplicate anything that Kees said, because I cannot hear him, although I can hear him just great in the studio. I think from our perspective, The media that's available today has given government stakeholders access to see consumer technologies and communication technologies that really whet their appetites for more high-tech systems. And they can see how they can benefit from having the leverage of better land information systems and access to that data in real time. So consumer technology is really influencing the stakeholders in land administration and increasing their expectations of what technology can do. So we see that as a really positive change because it gives us the opportunity to really work well with government. And I'd like to kind of reiterate what Don said before. There's certainly a real increased interest in land information systems from government stakeholders. There's a lot more participation in industry events and a real recognition of the importance of land administration and land information and its benefits to government.
Okay, that's pretty good. Moving on to the next question, next point. All the private participants here are working with several government organizations on several projects and land administration. Don, if I may ask you, what are the challenges you see? Where is the disconnect, and how? Has been your experience?
Sure. I think when we talk about working with the government, in a given country, there's not just one government agency that we're working with. So I think a big challenge is really understanding the multiple constituents across multiple government agencies that have an interest in land information. And that's from the Ministry of Finance to Ministry of Interior, Ministry of, for example, the Judiciary regarding interest in these types of projects. So for us, it's important to really understand all of the constituents and how a modernization program can help each constituent, and to really create connectivity between the agencies. And that's where I think we play a valuable part in creating that dialogue and enabling the discussion.
Kees, I would like to turn this question to you as well. As Don has pointed out, working with multiple organizations and multiple stakeholders is a challenge. And what is the government perspective you bring about to this kind of a challenge?
Well, I think it's a very good development that we are working together now on many shared ambitions. But like you have good governance and bad governments, you also have sometimes good private companies and bad private companies. So I think to build up this partnership, there should be a longer term perspective, and you really should know to learn the parties you work with. And to be honest, not all parties are good and not all parties are bad. So you really have to build it up. And I think you need time to do so. And I'm very glad I can say that we found a lot of partners where we can really work in good private partnerships nowadays. So it really is possible.
Okay, Matt, I would like to understand your perspective as well on this. What has been your experience and the challenges that you see in this partnership?
Yeah, I think one of the largest challenges that we have dealing with government is complex procurement processes. If you look at the way that the private sector procures technology solutions, it's a very collaborative process that they go through with industry. They work together with industry to understand what the possibilities are and what the technology can actually do to solve their problems. And it's certainly a competitive process. But if we look at how it works, there's a lot more dialogue. The government procurement processes today are quite difficult to manage, in that often the specifications and terms are dictated by people that don't have a full understanding of the available technology. So the technology moves very, very fast. So for us to really be able to provide the best possible solution, we need to be able to fully understand and engage in a dialogue with the customer, right? And say, okay, what are your problems? What are you trying to solve? And then we can look at what are the best technology options to solve those problems. What's the best way for us to, say, partner with local partners or work with other industry partners to come up with a really good solution. And the procurement processes that are in place today make it very, very difficult. There are some forward-looking governments that are modern procurement processes such as competitive dialogue that actively engage industry in building a proposed solution specification. And I think those types of processes really need to be increased in their use, right? The ability to actually engage industry in helping to develop, what the solution should look like.
Okay. I think one aspect that everybody is uniformly agreeing is about having a dialogue, having a communication and coordination mechanism that needs to be put in to be able to create value out of this technology. So Brent, how do you think this mechanism should evolve?
I think one of the challenges is understanding of the total cost of ownership. What appears to be expensive up front over the long term may be a lot less expensive. Land administration systems have a shelf life, and it's not much more than 10 years. So if you build a highly customized system, you're going to rebuild a system in 10 years. And as Matt mentioned, the procurement process that may take 2 or 3 years with a hardwired specification from the beginning, you may be building a system that's 3 or 4 years old by the time you build it. The shelf life of technology is much shorter now. There's a much faster refresh rate of technology. And that combined with our understanding of the history of good land systems as they all evolve. So we have to think in a new way of building a sustainable system that can evolve with changing government requirements and changing citizen requirements. So we don't hardwire and build these systems that are not sustainable.
Okay, that means a fit for purpose kind of a solution that needs to be evolved.
Yes.
Right. So, Don, how do you think this fit for purpose solution can be evolved in coordination with all the multiple stakeholders?
Sure. Well, I would completely echo your comments there, and sort of think about the continuum of land information and the needs of society, from documenting informal land rights to formal land rights to formal registries, and then thinking about as a country evolves and develops the need to value that property, and ultimately, as we see in the United States and other societies, potentially having to tax that property. And so there's a continuum that takes generations to go across. And to Brent's points, you need systems that are sustainable and can scale as the government grows and the needs of that government grows. And I think with technology partners and close engagement and dialogue with the private sector, you can really configure, to your point, fit for purpose solutions that are designed for that government's current state and current economic development.
Okay. Kees, I would like to turn this question to you. As a Dutch cadastre and national government mapping organization, and also as a director of Cadastre International, providing services to several other countries, I would like to understand your experience and how this fit for purpose has actually helped in evolving land administration systems in the modern context.
Well, I think everybody knows by now that we are a big fan of fit-for-purpose approaches. So I agree with everything said in the studio so far. But I want to add one aspect to it, because I think fit-for-purpose approaches really need to have the combination of governments and private sector together. It cannot be done alone by governments. It cannot be done alone by private sector. To give you the example, if you would leave it to the private sector, then there would be the competition coming up again, because the private sector is not one thing. So I think the force in fit-for-purpose approaches is in the fact that you have governments, private sector, sometimes even universities or science institutes or NGOs. You have them working together on a shared ambition.
Yes, I do agree. There has to be a shared stakeholding and not just an onus on one single stakeholder. I'd like to turn this question to Matt. Matt, how do you see this fit for purpose as a right kind of a solution moving forward? Matt, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm sorry, there was a bit gap in the middle of your question. So if you wouldn't mind just repeating the question.
Okay. the question was about how evolving a specific and fit for purpose kind of a solution that is required for a specific government. Are you in agreement, and how do you think this can be evolved on various case by case basis?
Yeah, so I think Don mentioned the concept of scalable solutions, and I think it's a very important concept. But I think the other important concept is to leverage platforms. So as industry, our technology solutions are platform based, and we evolve those technologies over a period of time to support multiple customers around the world. And in order to do that, we need configurable platforms that we can configure to meet the needs of specific customers who have specific problems. In my experience in land, there are some very unique challenges from place to place that we go, and we have to be able to tailor and configure a solution to meet those customers' challenges. But as Brent said, if you build a purely customized solution, it has a shelf life.
Yep.
And we mentioned the challenges in the procurement process. The procurement process does not typically allow for the system to be sustainable. So what we end up seeing is a rigid specification that says, hey, you need to solve A, B, C, D, and E. A solution is developed to solve A, B, C, D, and E, and then that solution becomes stale because provisions really haven't been considered for the total cost of ownership and to sustain the solution and evolve it. Utilizing a scalable solution built on a platform allows us to bring a platform in that we can use to configure for the initial solution. As the needs of the customer become more clear over time, as their evolving needs become clear, the solution can be scaled to meet those increased needs. And the customer also benefits from that platform is supporting customers around the world. So we as technology providers and industry are continuing to make investments in that platform, and the customer benefits from that, and that they are always getting a sustained, modern, up-to-date solution, and it really counteracts that shelf life problem.
Okay, so I think that makes a lot of sense in having a not too much customized a solution, but have and give scope to the later needs of the country. And coming to the evolving needs of a country, how do you see, Brent, I would like to start with you, this improved, as we see the connect between the industry and the government. What is the, where does the onus lie? What can the industry do in bridging this gap?
I think there's a lot of challenges there. And as Keith said, to be successful, there has to be a partnership with government. And I think traditionally there have been a lot of projects that are built, implemented, and then the vendor leaves.
The current model also has several partnerships between the government and the industry, but still there is at the end of the project either the success is not complete, or the customer is not satisfied, or the vendor has a lot of issues with the government organizations. How do you see, what kind of a partnership do you think will really work?
I think the point you made on project, I think that's the key point, is not to look at these as projects, but to look at these as systems. How do you build a holistic, sustainable system and look at the long-term value of the system and not necessarily the short-term cost? How do you build a system that's evolvable, that's consistent across government, that's not just working, say, for national mapping and cadastre, but also supports statistics, supports census, supports environment, it supports all the foundation layers of data required for government. So I think if we take a more holistic view and have good leadership in government, one thing we didn't discuss on is having a strong champion. And I think for any successful implementation of a land administration system, you've got to have some strong government champions to see that through. And you're going to want to have partners, commercial partners, government partners, private partners who are going to be there at the end and don't pack up and leave when the last check is written, but are there to sustain and make sure that things work in the long term.
Okay. Don, I would like to have your insight on what kind of a partnership, what are your suggestions to bridge this gap?
Sure. Well, to Brent's point, within a government, you do need that champion, and you need that will to make that change and to invest in that modernization program. And so something that at Thomson Reuters that we talk about, very similar to what you said, Brent, was around that partnership. And to really have a close dialogue with the constituents in the government so that we can articulate our value proposition, our commitment to the government sector, and to really understand their needs, and for the government to frankly give us their problem statement, so that we can understand how can we help you with this specific problem. And if we can't do that, have the partnership and the transparency to say, well, we can develop a consortium that collectively with other private sector members can advance your mission. And I think it's that partnership and that dialogue and that transparency with the private sector that's so important.
Okay, Matt, I would like you to take this question as to what are your suggestions to bridge this gap.
Yeah, so I'd like to echo in on what Brent said about the concept of this being an investment in a solution versus a project. Typically what we see in the procurement process is a project type approach, and projects have a start date and an end date. When you look at it more as a solution development or a system, developing a system as a long-term solution, you have to think of it more as a development of an operating system or an operating entity. And that means that there are long-term stakeholders within the government that are involved in not only the development of the system, but the long-term ownership and operation of the system. And I also believe, to echo the concept, that needs to really be collaboration with industry. Industry needs to be a stakeholder in the long-term solution, not in a short-term project. So we're looking for opportunities to partner and collaboratively develop what the solution should look like, engage in a collaborative development and implementation of the system, rather than, hey, you guys go and build and implement the system and then train us how to use it and leave. We're looking for more of a long-term partnership to say, what will this operating partnership look like with some term into the future? The system, for it to be of value, to get a return on the investment that government puts in this in terms of time and money, it needs to be sustainable. And for it to be sustainable, it needs to be planned, kind of operating budgets and planned long-term collaboration, so that the system could not only be sustained, but can evolve to meet the evolving needs of the people.
Okay, great. Brent, you'd like to make your
Yeah,
intervention.
just a quick comment on sustainability. One thing key to sustainable systems is that they're built on standards that a lot of people share, and as Matt mentioned, it allows industry to make a lot of investments because they serve a lot of people. But the other part is training. If you have a highly customized system, you have to bear that that training all yourself. So if you build a system based on open standards and that are ubiquitous systems, the training's available everywhere, and you can maintain your staff, you can grow the quality of your staff with off-the-shelf training and not necessarily all the custom things that you build yourself on your
Okay, I
on
think that's very
technology.
important point, training and also taking it forward. Before we go to the next question, I think I would want to understand, Case, the government view of what kind of suggestions you would want to give to the industry to bridge this gap.
Well, first of all, I think it's important that you never should start something that you cannot sustain. And I think we all agree on that one. I really want to add up to what Brent said. The standards are very important. We have in our domain nowadays the land administration domain model or the social tenure domain model. So we have standards that we can use, and it doesn't matter if it's in open source or in closed source or whatever, but it really helps in making systems fit for purpose. Because if you want to start at a smaller scale and build it up later on, you should have thought about the standards you're using before you start the project.
Okay, Matt, I would like to I would like you to take that question on terms of standards, how important they are. Are you in agreement? You have something to add to it?
Yeah, so I apologize because I cannot hear Case, so his comments on standards have escaped me a little bit. So can you frame the question a little bit for me?
So it's more about what Brent has said, to be able to have a sustainable solution or platform or a system. It's very important to have standards in place, and also to have a training of the personnel over there. So just wanting to have your views on that.
Certainly. So flexible standards are important, and this is why I believe that platform solutions are really the best approach. When you take a platform, a configurable platform approach, you're allowed to set baseline standards that can be extensible to meet the specific needs of the customer, yet they leverage an underlying platform that is shared across the multiple customers around the world, right? So the platform investment that industry is making can be leveraged across customers around the world, and as industry will continue to invest in that platform so that we can sustain it, we can evolve it, we can make it better. And the baseline standards it's not only the software architecture or platform, but the baseline data standards also need to conform. And this is why the SDDM or the LADM model was built out. It is an extensible standard. It's a standard that allows us to build a platform, but also allows that platform to meet the specific customer needs. So standard are very, very important, but they have to be extensible to meet the specific needs of customers. They need to be extensible to meet the local social needs. At the end of the day, if we build a system that has standards that are in conflict with the local customs, then the system won't be sustainable. So standards are important, but they need to be extensible, and it's our responsibility as industry to build platforms that can support that extensibility. A brief comment about the training. Training should not be looked at as an event. Sustainable systems need to consider ongoing operation as a process, not as an event. Too often we look at contracting a solution provider to build a solution and then train on the solution, and training is an event. Training needs to actually be part of the system. Ongoing training is part of the sustainability processes and implementation. It's not just part of the system implementation, it's part of the system operation ongoing. I think that's a very key difference between a project versus building a system.
Okay, that makes us say that the first and foremost is the coordination, the dialogue between the different stakeholders, the standards, not as a project but as a system, and also the one champion that we talked about. But yes, when you talk about a champion, I would want to understand, Dawn, first from you. You also suggested that a champion is someone who can drive the project, who can drive the system and the value of the system. But how about the lack of awareness at this point in the system itself? When I talk about the system here, I meant the people involved in all the stakeholder community and the larger group of public. Because do you see a need to sensitize these segments as well to be able to really get value out of the land administration system that the country is building?
Well, absolutely. I think if you look at a land information system and land modernization programs, the benefits to society are clear in terms of stronger land tenure, leading to the ability for society to invest in their land, invest in that property, make it more productive, take that land title and get a mortgage and have access to financial markets. That drives economic development. Society benefits across the board from strong land information systems and the transparency that those systems provide to the government. And I think it's really onus on us and the private sector to really demonstrate those benefits to government as well as society. I think there is absolutely a need for these systems and for the modernization programs that so many governments are talking about right now. But to continue to articulate the benefit to society, I think will continue to enable the momentum that's needed to continue driving this change and economic development in many governments.
Okay, fantastic. Brent, I would like your concluding remarks on sensitizing and creating awareness in the larger groups.
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to take a different look at these systems. I think Fit for Purpose is giving us a starting point, and we need to think in terms of leapfrogging the technology to, the best analogy would be cell phones. We're not going to go build a traditional wired network in the developing world. We're going to use cellular technology. And in land administration, we have the same opportunity. We don't have to go build the heavy iron of servers and infrastructure. We can leapfrog that with lightweight devices that people are using Android phones. I think I talked to a person last week, and she bought an Android phone for $20 in Vietnam. So we can store and manage mapping information, base mapping information in the cloud. We can connect the Android devices to the cloud. We connect high precision GPS to the Android. We have all the pieces to the puzzle to leapfrog the whole system. So I think those are the terms we need to think in. And if we combine the very most modern, easy to use technology with Fit for Purpose, I think we have a solution there. And it's the last thing you would think of is that the cloud would be the solution for the developing environment, the developing world, but it is the key.
Okay. Matt, I would like to turn this question to you. What do you think is the need in sensitizing the larger groups so that the benefit out of this land administration system really is contributing to the economy of a country? Can you hear us?
So are you directing that to me?
Yes, that's right.
There was a little chop off in the communication, sorry. Yeah, so I think it's important that when we look at developing this type of a solution, that the solution is very holistic. The technology is important. Brent made some really good points about appropriate use of technology, leapfrogging, utilizing the cloud, utilizing mobile devices. Those things are very important in terms of making the right technology decisions for a solution. But the solution also has to do with the people as well. And so projects that we've been involved in have involved archaeological is important, and we need to make sure that there is a mutual kind of stakeholder approach between industry, the public, they're spending the public's money on, right? So there needs to be transparency with the public, and there needs to be a clear benefit articulated to the public, and that requires excellent communication and transparency with the public. So that's certainly part of the overall system approach, is to be able to communicate that benefit to the public. And I think as far as industry and government, we have a lot of room for improvement about how we make both sides, in industry and government, long-term stakeholders in the solution. It needs to be such that a sustainable solution is good for industry and is good for government. So as a partner in a long-term sustained solution, industry benefits from that long-term partnership, and government benefits from that long-term partnership. And we can do that not by just implementing technology, but actually by having a clear, collaborative approach to solving the problems of government and solving the problems of the public. If we're involved in solving that problem, then we share the mutual success of that solution. That's a better approach. So we want to be in for the long haul. We want to be providing ongoing modernization and maintenance and support, and evolve that solution. That should be a good proposition for industry to be involved in that long-term partnership, and we should have a mutual interest in the success, not just an interest in deploying the contract and getting out of town, right? We want to have a shared interest. And I think this means that our government partners really need to be open to alternative approaches, right? Rather than a standard procurement process, but be open to proposals for different types of solutions, right? Such as public-private partnerships or concession models, or outsourcing or leveraging things like cloud services. Those types of ongoing subscription type models, for example, offer opportunities for long-term partnership, long-term kind of shared benefit and risk in the solution over time to the industry.
Okay, fantastic. Kees, I would like I'd like to know your concluding remarks and what is the need to sensitize the people for the success of a land administration program. Probably you can give us the case of Netherlands.
Yes, well, I want to react from a government perspective, I think, because we should realize that our organization has two types of functionalities. One is that we have to provide legal certainty to citizens. And that's an important issue, but citizens should be aware of their legal certainty, but not about all the information products that we provide. If you look at the Netherlands, we see that about 95 or 98% of our information products, they are delivered to professional users, not to citizens. So we have much more focus on our professional users if you look at our services and our information products. So please distinguish between the two objectives of a land administration system, that you provide legal certainty to your citizens, but you provide also to your professional users, you provide good information services.
Okay, great, fantastic. Thank you for your remarks, Kees. I think all of us are on the same page in terms of having a better coordination, better dialogue between all the stakeholders involved, and have a scalable solution. And it needs to be a solution and a platform, not a particular project. I think all of us are on the same page, and it's important to have everyone as an equal stakeholder and not something that can be left off in the middle. So thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen, for having shared your views on GeoBiz. Thanks for sharing your wonderful insight and your time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.